purpose of conducting the school corporation business and is not to be considered a public community meeting. There will be time for public participation as indicated by the agenda. The meeting site is fully accessible. Any person requiring further accommodation should contact the superintendent at the school corporation central office. I'll now call the meeting to order. If you will all please stand, we'll observe a moment of silence followed by the Pledge of Allegiance.
I pledge allegiance to the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all.
Roll call. We do have everyone present. Mrs. Hutchison is joining us by Zoom this evening. So we do have a quorum. Mission statement. Mrs. Hutchison, go right ahead.
Lebanon Community School Corporation will cultivate and reach every student by influencing their lives through the power of education and do so in a positive and safe learning environment.
Great, thank you. Okay, item 2, approval of minutes for the February 15th, 2022 regular meeting. Like a motion to approve those, please?
I'll motion.
Okay. Second?
I'll second.
Okay, any questions or comments on those? All right, we will do roll call, yay or nay. So all those in favor, when I call your name, signify by saying aye. Mr. Parks?
Aye.
Mrs. Hutchison?
Aye.
Mrs. Jones?
Aye.
And Mr. Hendricks?
Aye.
We have a little bit of a delay, Lisa, so if you could even kind of wave as well, so we're all great. And I vote in favor as well, so motion passes. Thank you. All right, item 3, certify executive content. We had an executive session also on February 15th, discussing the initiation of litigation or litigation that is pending, and to discuss job performance and purchase or lease of real property. Like a motion to approve those minutes, please.
I'll make the motion.
Okay. Second?
I'll second.
Okay.
Second.
Any questions or comments on those? All right, I will go down the line once again. In favor signify by saying aye. Mr. Parks?
Aye.
Mrs. Hutchison?
Aye.
Great. Mrs. Jones?
Aye.
Mr. Hendricks?
Aye.
Okay, I vote in favor as well. Motion passes. Thank you. Okay, item 4, consent agenda staff matters. Dr. Millen.
Thank you, Mrs. Keith. This evening for staff matters under our classified staff, we bring substitute teacher recommendation this evening and instructional assistant at Lebanon Middle School in special education. IU Methodist Children's Home instructional assistant. Once again, reminding the board that that is a private school that is located within our boundaries, and so there's a responsibility for us to provide assistance to students that reside within our boundaries. A transportation department secretary this evening and 2 custodial positions for our classified recommendations. Under certified this evening, we have 2 maternity leave requests, a school psychologist, which I'm very pleased to bring forward because they're difficult to find in this day and age, so we're pleased to bring a school psych candidate to you for consideration this evening, as well as a temporary teacher for a maternity leave at Stokes. Under extracurricular this evening, Amanda Scoble, middle school athletic director, is recommending coaching positions for track, 7th grade cheer, and assistant girls tennis. Kelly Solomon is recommending Megan Stewart for a mentoring position at Hattie B. Stokes, and Mr. Dunshee is recommending Angie Hensel, Kathy Dunshee, Dee Hood, Charlie Fisher, Aaron Vaughn, and Peggy Ross for mentorship positions at the middle school. That's all I have for staff matters this evening.
For the IUMCH, that's paid from the Title I delinquent. That's not Lebanon funds.
Correct. Thank you.
All right, thank you. Okay, board, I'd like a motion to approve the consent agenda staff matters as presented, please.
I'll make a motion.
Okay. Second?
I'll second.
Okay. Any questions or comments on those? Okay, all those in favor signify by saying aye when I call your name. Mr. Parks?
Aye.
Mrs. Hutchison?
Aye.
Mrs. Jones?
Aye.
Mr. Hendricks?
Aye.
I vote in favor as well. Motion passes. Thank you. Item 5, consent agenda business matters. Mr. Tate.
Yes, my pleasure to report to the board and the community this evening. Our monthly financial report shows these percents expended and/or encumbered as of February 28th. For the education fund, 13.68%. Operations fund, 12.30%. At this time, I'd like to make a report on our spring ADM, which has an effect on our funding. Spring ADM came in at $3,257. The fall ADM at the beginning of the school year was 3326. We're down 69 students from that time. I provided a 4-year history. If you go back to the fall of 2017-18, we're at 3485. If you compare the fall of the fall of 17 to the spring of 22, we're actually down 228 kids during that time span. I'd also like to thank the parents and the students in regards to transportation issues, difficulties that we've had these past few months as far as a driver shortage. Appreciate your patience and your understanding. You've been absolutely amazing with that. We are continuing to work on increasing our number of bus drivers. It does take a special license and a special endorsement. We did recently have our 4 grounds employees complete their CDL, so they are available for emergency driving at this time, so they'll help us out when we do have a shortage. So I want to thank them for stepping up to the plate. I want to thank the public for being understanding during this time of labor shortage. So I want to report on that. At this time, I ask for approval of claims numbered 55191 through 55358, and the payroll stated February 18th and March 4th. The claims total $2,152,497.50. The payrolls total $1,894,014.97 for a total of $4,046,512.47. Request approval of the claims and the payrolls, please.
Okay, thank you. Thank you for the financial report and ADM report. Board, I'd like a motion to approve claims for payment 55191 through 55358 and payrolls for February 18th and March 4th of 2022 as presented, please.
I'll make that motion.
Thank you.
Yep.
Second?
I'll second.
Okay. Any questions or comments on those or any information presented? All right. All those in favor signify by saying aye when I call your name. Mr. Parks?
Aye.
Mrs. Hutchison?
Aye.
Mrs. Jones?
Aye.
Mr. Hendricks?
Aye.
And I vote in favor as well. Motion passes.
Thank you very much.
Thank you. Item 8, board recognitions. Dr. Milliman, Tiger Pride.
Yeah, we'll ask Ms. Scott to join us at the podium, please.
Good evening. Excited this month to be here to recognize a classified staff member plus a community member. So we will begin by recognizing Mrs. Paula Meisberger, an instructional assistant, Harney, if she could join Dr. Milliman over here, please. Dr. Dye and Mrs. Davis shared that Mrs. Meisberger has picked up the pieces of a neglected program and breathed life into computer applications with our students. Her multisensory approach to teaching the digital content required of the course is both refreshing and engaging. She consistently builds relationships with students and works to meet their needs in the classroom. She is a team player and participates fully in staff endeavors, offering both enthusiasm and support to the Harney family. She always has a kind word for whoever she contacts throughout the day and gives 100% to all that she does. It is an honor to have her as part of the staff and to recommend her as our Tiger Pride champion for March. Congratulations.
I'm going to check this because it's not often you have this kind of fan club joining us. Well, first of all, thank you on behalf of the district for all you do for our students. We appreciate you so much. And would you like to introduce the members of your fan club? Here, you got to use this so they can hear you at home.
Reed Meisberger, my son, my husband James Meisberger, my daughter Zoe Meisberger, and my daughter Estelle Meisberger, my grandson Wyatt Smith, my mother Barbara Cox, my stepmother Norma Strode, and my father Michael Strode.
Support.
Thank you for all you do for the kids. Thank you.
In addition, this month, we're excited to recognize a Tiger Pride Community Champion. And the Community Tiger Pride Champion Award recognizes community members, parents, businesses, and organizations who are an asset to LCSC and display persistence, respectfulness, initiative, and dependability or efficiency throughout what their endeavors are. So this month, we're excited to recognize the Rotary Club of Lebanon. The Rotary Club of Lebanon is a valuable asset to our community. Their members work diligently to provide service to others while promoting integrity and advancing world understanding, goodwill, and peace as noted in their mission statement. Over the last few years, the local nonprofit organization and their members have expressed their appreciation to LCSC staff and teachers through their Rotary Has a Heart for Teachers project. Through the project, they have provided treat bags to all staff in the 6 buildings on Valentine's Day. On behalf of all LCSC staff members, we would like to thank the members of the Rotary Club for your kind gesture and support of our staff, school, and community through your organization's work. Thank you.
I would just like to echo that the service organizations within the community are so important to the growth of our students, and it's what makes us a livable community, a destination community, and our students and staff benefit so much. We're so grateful for our partnership with you, so thank you. Anything you'd like to say to the board, Rain? No? All right.
Thank you very
All
much.
right, thank you.
Thank you.
Thank you, and I had 2 of the treat bags. Just self-disclosing. Just self-disclosing.
How'd you get 2?
You know, first come, first serve.
Great, thank you, and congratulations to all of you. We'll give you a moment if you'd like to move on with your evening.
Thank you so much.
It's awfully nice out.
Say what I'm exiting at both for children at Central and Martin Leader and the last month of this month. And they are highly involved in the community and the talent factory. So they this dance tonight.
Aw.
Here to celebrate mom.
That's
Wow.
awesome.
That is.
That's a big sacrifice.
Wow.
Thank you so
That's really
much. Thank
nice.
you.
Thank you. All right, item 7, Superintendent.
Yes, thank you very much. Lots of celebrations this evening to share with the board. First off, I'd like to congratulate our agriculture department. They were named District 4 Outstanding Agriculture Program for this area, which is a tremendous accomplishment. We have 3 outstanding new staff members, Logan Glassburn, Shelby Lee, Hannah McFalls, that are leading that group at the high school, and they were awarded that recently, and they will be representing District 4 and vying for State Program of the Year at Purdue in June. And in addition to that, Lindsay Williams, our Lebanon Middle School ag teacher, received the 2021-22 Outstanding Early Career Educator for the district as well. So kind of a clean sweep for Lebanon at District 4 this year. So speaks very highly of their work, and we congratulate them for that. I want to take a moment and congratulate our drama department for an outstanding performance of the Crucible last weekend. It was just always top-notch and well done, so I wanted to give them a nod as well. Our Lebanon High School Tigerettes Winter Guard qualified for the IHSCGA State Finals, which will be in a couple of weeks, and it's a major accomplishment for this group. They were competing for the last 2 years in a class called Regional A. IHSCGA has 4 classes, Regional A, Open Class, and World Class. So depending on really a lot of the difficulty level, et cetera. And this is a program that has started only 3 years ago. And they were scoring too high of scores in Regional A. And when that happens, the association bumps you into the next highest class because you're scoring too high in the Regional A class. When that happens, it's not always usual to make state finals because there's already a group of established A guards. So for them to make state finals is quite an accomplishment for them. So they have their community performance along with the winter percussion tomorrow night here at the high school, and invite people to join for that. We had 18 members of our DECA group here at the high school compete recently. We've had Abigail Thomas, Ella Taylor, Emma Hornbecker, Amelia Sheff, Audrey Patterson, Anna Robbins, Addison Kupka, Nora Gallman, Alex Emmenheiser, all qualified for state or placed high in the state, in the top 5 in the state. So a great showing from Lebanon Business Department at the DECA competition. All celebrations tonight. That's all I have for my announcements this evening.
Great, very good. Board, any comments?
That's fantastic to
Great,
hear the
great
accomplishments
news.
of our students.
Yes,
Good week.
very good, thank you. All right, item 8, comments from the public. We do not have anyone signed up, so we will move on to item 9, action items. All right, under A, second reading of policy updates, Dr. Milliman.
Yes, second reading of our policy 5540. Just to remind the board, this is just an update of our policy to be consistent with new Indiana code regarding governmental agencies and interviewing of students, whether that be Department of Child Services or any other governmental agency, and following along with that. So it's really just a code update with our policy.
Okay, very good, thank you. Board, I would like a motion, what was that policy number again?
5540.
5540. I'd like a motion to approve policy number 5540 as submitted.
I'll make that motion.
Okay. Second?
I'll second.
Second.
You take whichever one you want.
Okay, yeah, I already had your name written down. There's a delay. We'll get you next time, though. We have a few. Okay, any questions or comments on that? Okay, and again, this is a second reading, so it was presented at the last meeting for any kind of feedback in the last month. So all those in favor signify by saying aye when I call your name. Mr. Parks?
Aye.
Mrs. Hutchison?
Aye.
Mrs. Jones?
Aye.
Mr. Hendricks?
Aye.
I am in favor as well. Motion passes. Thank you. All right, Mr. Martin, we have 5th grade trip and a DECA overnight trip.
It's nice to be bringing these back to the board. It's nice to be bringing these back.
Yes,
Yes.
definitely.
You have background notes with the details of this trip. The trip to Louisville for 5th grade from Central. Did anybody have any, date of May 20th?
Mhm.
And any other questions from it's a one-day trip, it's just out of state, barely.
I think it sounds like a great trip. I think traditionally they've gone to Chicago. Is there a reason the destination changed?
He
or-
mentioned, or she mentioned it, but I forget if she gave me any detail
Okay.
as to why there were other considerations that were talked about, but I don't recall any details.
Okay.
We can work on that. We'll get the answer. We'll get some answers.
That's fine.
We'll
It
ask
sounds
that.
like a great trip. I
Yeah,
was
it
just
does.
curious why it
We today
might have changed.
allowed the principals, or told the principals that they could allow parents, chaperones on the buses. We had been prohibiting that since COVID, just for proximities limitations, but we're going to open that up, and that'll be just in time for a couple of these trips that are coming up this,
Yeah.
really, 1st of April. Got a
Great.
couple.
No, that's good news. Very good news. All right. Board, I'd like a motion to approve the Central 5th grade trip to Louisville, please.
I'll make that motion.
Okay. Second?
I'll second.
Any further questions on that? Okay.
Great to see trips
I
coming back
know.
again.
It's
And
exciting.
I'm sure the parents are glad they get to go.
Yes.
Yeah.
Something
That's
fun
good.
to look forward to at the end of the year. No, that's great. All right. All those in favor signify by saying aye. Mr. Parks?
Aye.
Mrs. Hutchison?
Aye.
Mrs. Jones?
Aye.
Mr. Hendricks?
Aye.
Okay, I agree as well. Motion passes. DECA overnight trip to Atlanta.
The high school, as Dr. Middleman alluded to, had some well-accomplished individuals who would like to go to the national convention. So this one comes up pretty quickly for us. We had to get it on this month's agenda. Atlanta, Georgia, April 23 through April 27.
Okay. Board, I'd like a motion to approve the DECA overnight trip to Atlanta, please, as presented.
I'll motion.
Motion.
We'll let Lisa that time. Would you like to second?
Oh, that's fine, yes.
Any questions on that? No?
Good luck.
Again, it's great to,
Good luck.
Good luck.
good luck. It's hard. That's tough competition. My son went on that one a couple years ago.
High-level stuff.
It's hard. Okay, all those in favor signify by saying aye. Mr. Parks?
Aye.
Mrs. Hutchison?
Aye.
Mrs. Jones?
Aye.
Mr. Hendricks?
Aye.
And I approve as well, so motion passes. Thank you, Mr. Martin. All right, D, recommendation of roof contractor, Mr. Tate.
Yes, so we opened bids for roof contracts last week, and we had 5 bids, which I was pleased with. Some companies we've worked with before. The low bid that I recommend that we accept with the 2 alternates is with Superior Roofing for a total of $304,392. This will be paid from the 2021 GEO bond, and you're provided a map of the roofing work at Harney, and this will complete that whole building, with the oldest roof section being from 2020. So it'll be good to go on that building once we complete this project.
Okay, great, thank you. Board, I would like a motion to approve the roof contractor as presented by Mr. Tate.
I'll motion.
Okay, second?
I'll second.
Any questions on that?
No,
Okay.
I haven't.
All right, very good. All those in favor signify by saying aye. Mr. Parks?
Aye.
Mrs. Hutchison?
Aye.
Mrs. Jones?
Aye.
Mr. Hendricks?
Aye.
And I vote aye as well. Motion
Thank you.
passes. Thank you.
Thank you.
Transfer of 208 Richardson property to Building and Trades. Mr.
The
Page.
school corporation owns the property at 208 Richardson Street, requesting that that property be transferred to the Lebanon Building Trades Corporation, and we would utilize that for our project next year, possibly a 2-year project. We're contemplating maybe building a duplex on that site, so we have more work to do, but asking at this time for permission to transfer that property from Lebanon School Corp to Lebanon Building Trades Corp.
Okay. Board, I'd like a motion to transfer that property from LCSC to Lebanon Building Trades.
I'll motion.
Okay. Second?
I'll second.
Okay. Any questions? No, just say it's nice to have another option for building.
Yeah, there's hard to find lots right now.
It
So it's
is.
kind of a blessing that's come our way. So we appreciate that. From the Building Trades Board, we appreciate that. And we've talked about once the property is completed, to make a donation back to the school corporation for a fair share of the lot value. So once that's completed, we'll reciprocate with a donation back to the school corp.
Very good, thank you.
And there are no plans for anything else for that, correct?
It's really not usable for any expansion of the school footprint.
Small.
It's a,
Just.
Too
Yeah.
small.
It's
It's a third of an
It's
acre.
adjacent
Yeah.
lot
Yeah.
that
Right.
was, we acquired years ago and raised the building that was on it, so it was
yeah,
not a dilapidated building next door.
correct, yeah.
For the most part,
Mhm.
safety and security, and all of that, so,
Yeah.
I understand.
No, great use of the space.
Absolutely.
Yeah. Okay, all those in favor signify by saying aye. Mr. Parks?
Aye.
Mrs. Hutchison?
Aye.
Mrs. Jones?
Aye.
Mr. Hendricks?
Aye.
I vote in favor as well. Motion passes.
Thank you.
And welcome, thank you. And Mr. Tate, request approval of a tractor purchase.
Yes, Kevin Kays and Jim Walling worked on getting quotes for replacement of one of our tractors. And you see we got 3 quotes for very similar pieces of equipment, recommending we accept the Bain Welker Farmall 75A tractor for $26,500.
All right. Board, I would like a motion to approve the purchase of the Farmall 75A tractor from Bain Welker.
I'll make that motion.
Okay, second?
I'll second.
Any questions on that?
Assuming they're all within, the bid was like all the same
As
size
close
of
as,
tractor.
close to
Noticing
specs
the
as
price.
possible.
Okay.
Yes, right.
Price differential, I'm just looking over those numbers, I want to make sure that they were all
Yep.
the same exact or close enough to.
Close as possible. When you
Okay.
get dealing with different brands, you
Sure.
got some variations in there. But
I do have, so since it's a replacement,
yeah, we're trading in an older tractor
okay, so.
that we use to pull our gang mowers and do other utility work.
So is the 26.5 after? any
After the trade-in,
After
yes,
the trade-in
correct.
credit.
Mhm.
Any further questions? All right, all those in favor signify by saying aye. Mr. Parks?
Aye.
Mrs. Hutchison?
Aye.
Mrs. Jones?
Aye.
Mr. Hendricks?
Aye.
And I vote in favor as well. Motion passes. Thank you.
Thank you very much.
All right, informational items. First, we have Dr. Milliman. I will allow you to
Sure, thank you very
introduce
much.
this next
Thank you.
one.
First informational item this evening, we have Dr. Linda Jordan with us this evening from the International Center for Leadership and Education. We have partnered with ICLE now for many years, multiple years. We certainly have increased our engagement with ICLE since my time here at Lebanon. I joined some teachers and administrators at the national conference in my first summer here, and we continue to engage with them. And ICLE is research-based best practices that raise the rigor, relevance, and relationships within our classrooms. And what's so powerful about the ICLE work is that Dr. Jordan has been coming to Lebanon for a number of weeks now, a number of days now, and she's going to talk about that, and visiting our classrooms in small coaching sessions with our teachers. And that's what makes this so powerful, because it's not a part of their teacher evaluation process. You know, it's a little bit more of the formal piece that happens with our administration. It's with Dr. Jordan, who can observe a classroom, meet with the teachers briefly. We've employed substitute teachers so they can go in the classroom while they go to the hallway and engage in a little coaching session. So it's actionable. You know, it's feedback happening in real time, which can benefit our students. So it's super powerful. And then Dr. Jordan working with our administration as well in an executive coaching session following that. So we're going to follow that up soon in June with a trip to Orlando, I believe, with a large contingent of teachers and administrators for the national conference this June. And I'm really honored that Dr. Jordan's here to talk about her experience here in Lebanon, because we're very proud of their work. So I'll turn it over to you. Thank you.
Dr. Milliman, thank you.
Thank
Board,
you.
thank you. It's an honor and privilege to speak with you, but more importantly, it's an honor and privilege to work with your educators. They are amazing. You are so lucky. I have been able to work here for the last 4 years. As Dr. Milliman says, we start with a PD, where everyone gets incredible professional and development. But in the past, it's been sometimes just a one-shot deal, which we know doesn't work very well. So after the PD, then I am back to be in the schools with the teachers, with who they are. So a little bit about our organization and what we do. First of all, I've been in education for 44 years. I have taught everything from preschool through higher ed, which has been really fun for me to do. So I've kind of been there through all of it. My specialty is neuroscience, and so my doctorate is in neuroscience, and I talk a lot about how the brain learns. And so the teachers get to know what's the best way for students to store information and then to retrieve that information, which has been really an exciting role to play. At the International Center, we have a philosophy of rigor, relevance, and relationships for all. And you'll notice that all is capitalized, because we believe every single student who steps on this property should get a rigorous and relevant relationship build education. And you'll notice relationships are at the top. It has always been that case for the last 30 years for our organization, but it's even more important now. What we know is that the social and emotional well-being of our students, our staff, our community is critical. So we spend a great deal of time talking about the relationships are so important. Kids don't learn from people they don't like. So we need to make sure they have these incredible, incredible relationships. So you can see everything we do for the rigor and relevance framework is housed inside the emotional, the cognitive, and the social and interpersonal skills. but notice that it's all around the circle of relationships, because everything we do is about how do we make sure that those relationships are strong, how do we make sure that kids are ready to learn when they walk in. So for the rigor and relevance, we have these quadrants, and up the left side, we've got rigor, and we use Bloom's taxonomy. So we go from low level to high level, critical thinking, problem solving. What we know is as we work with businesses around the world, they tell us we need problem solvers, we need critical thinkers. And so we look for those students that we can really push everybody to be that critical thinker, to be that problem solver. But one of the things that is often left out in professional development is relevancy. And the brain is this simple: no meaning, no memory. And so what we know is we have to take those standards that we've been given and make meaning for them, make meaning for our students. Why would a second grader at Lebanon schools want to know this? Why would a seventh grader? Why would an 11th grader? How do we take these standards and make them meaningful to our students? So that relevancy piece is what makes us unique, is that we have to say, how is this important to these kids? And just as an example, these kids don't watch TV, they watch YouTube. And if the teacher is making comments like, well, on TV, and the kids are like, oh my gosh, our teacher watches TV. It's like, holy cow. So, we have to make sure that what we have to take is look as relevant as possible. And so we really work hard at that relevancy. Why? How is this important to students now? We also now know that for your primary kids, almost half of their life's been spent in COVID. That is normal to them. And so how do we make things relevant to those students that have led a very different life? So that relevancy becomes important. But we look at this, whether we're looking at curriculum or instruction or leadership, everything we do at the school is built around that framework. This is not a program, this is a framework. And we use that framework to guide instruction and leadership. Our information and our research has been done over 30 years with the nation's most rapidly improving schools. And we know there is a direct line between poverty and how kids score. So we spend our time looking at schools to say, oh my gosh, how do they score? How do they score so well? And it's rigor, relevance, and relationships. So that is the research we are using to help your teachers understand. I have had the wonderful privilege to have, scheduled for 3, but only 2 because of COVID, leadership academies in the summer where I've been able to spend 3 or 4 days with your entire whole staffs that came. I have provided other PD along the way, and then also, as Dr. Milliman pointed out, the instructional coaching, the executive coaching, and then being a part of our Model Schools Conference in Orlando. So it has been my privilege and honor to work with, once again, your amazing educators. This week I am here for the elementaries. I've spent in the fall spending a lot of time with Kevin at the high school and at the middle school, and right now I'm concentrating on your elementaries, and just be proud. You have amazing people. Do you have any questions of me?
Well, first of all, thank you for coming. I'm so glad that it worked out that we had a meeting when you were here in town and that we could hear from you, because we've heard about you for years. So thank you for coming.
Thank you.
Does anyone have questions? Or I know your methods have generated a lot of excitement and caused people to really think about the way that they're doing things. So I think that's great. So I appreciate that.
Dr. Jordan, we spent a day together with the board yesterday, and we spoke a great deal about how it's important to know our students in order for us to be able to grow our students, and we spent a significant amount of time talking about that, so there's a little bit of irony happening, I think it's irony, today with that, so we thank you for that. I would like to take a moment too with the board and thank Diane Scott for her hard work in setting all of this in motion, the planning to get Dr. Jordan here and teachers to Orlando and the coaching session set up and the substitutes arranged and talking to the principals and arranging it to all work. She is not so much behind the scenes. She's right in the fight. So I appreciate her leadership in all of this as well. So
I'm a huge fan of coaching because you can train people, go through a professional development seminar or something, but the follow-up coaching in any profession is huge. So I appreciate that. So it's great.
Thank you.
thank you, Dr. Jordan, very much.
Thank
Appreciate
you so
it.
much for being here. All right, next we have a first reading of policy updates.
Yes, I have. Didn't get the count done, but it looks like about 10 or 12 for your.
Promised us, right?
I did. I told you there was going to be a chunk of policies. The majority of them are what normally comes to the board. These are Indiana Code updates. We're making sure the Indiana Code is consistent with our policy, and that's what you'll find in these as well. We did make some edits to fit Lebanon schools within some of the first readings as well, titles of positions, et cetera. But if you have any questions, I'd be happy to try to answer them.
And more to come too, right?
More to come. We have about 5 or 6 left in this grouping, and then we expect another large. The legislature was busy again in this session, so we expect a large group of policies in the spring.
Okay. Very good. So just to clarify, this is a first reading, so nothing is approved tonight. We have a month to look at it, and if there are any questions or concerns in the meantime.
I believe Mrs. Hutchison and Mrs. Keith are my policy board members, so you can funnel questions through them or directly to us, or all three. Thank you.
Great. Thank you. And speaking of our legislature, next we have legislative updates.
Yes, I'm not going to spend much time on this evening. The legislature did adjourn for this session. Several bills that do affect public education were part of the docket this year. As I have in the past, remind the board, you can go to the Indiana State School Boards Association website. Anyone can do that without a login. There's a legislative tab on their services side of their website, and there's a tracking link, and you can see some of the summaries of the latest bills. So I won't go through all of those and bore you with those this evening. You can read and peruse those. Just a few to highlight. One had to do with public comment at school board meetings, and happy to share with the board that our current policy is very much in line with the legislation that just passed. However, we're going to tweak it a bit so that it aligns a little bit better with what they just passed. We may receive another version of that from Neola when we get that spring packet, but if it's consistent with what you're looking at coming up in this next approval, we'll just stay with what we have. But we're very consistent already, just a couple minor changes that would come forth in the future. One that's going to be important and will be relevant to Mr. Martin's next agenda item. There is, I think it's awaiting the governor's signature, where there's a limit on the number of what we call e-learning days for inclement weather, to cap that at 3 throughout an entire school year. So only 3 of the 180 days can be used as an e-learning format, unless the day is at least 50% synchronous. In other words, students are live on the screen with their teacher for at least 50% of the day. That's a very difficult thing to accomplish, especially K through 5, when maybe on an inclement weather day they're going to grandma's house or a different daycare situation, maybe at the secondary level, but you really can't split your instructional day between secondary and elementary. So as I've read the bill so far, it appears that it's a 3-day cap. So that may play into not only the calendar for 2023-24 that we're looking at today, but perhaps they already approved 22-23, that we may come back to the board and look at potentially building in some days within that calendar that could flex to a makeup day somewhere within that calendar. So stay tuned for that. We're still kind of pulling that apart, and I think it's still awaiting the governor's signature for it to actually become law. So that's just something to put on your radar. I thought was important to bring up this evening. The next one that didn't really come on the radar as an education bill, but it will affect communities, and communities affect public schools, is a Senate Bill 361, which is an Indiana Development Corporation bill, which in essence creates a tax increment financing. It's not called that, but they have a tax abatement or tax increment financing district. However, it is administered by the state of Indiana, not your local city or your local townships or local community, where the state would capture the property taxes from that, whatever that area would be, and they would administer that rather than the local entities. Still would not flow through the schools. In either scenario, the schools do not receive, or the other 11 taxing districts don't receive the bulk of the property taxes. It would flow into a development corporation, but Senate Bill 361 establishes a state development corporation. So that's new ground that's being broken in Indiana on that bill. So I do encourage you to go out and take a look at that, and anyone else who might be interested in how tax abatements work, they may find that bill interesting.
I think we'll find it
very interesting.
affecting us sooner than later.
Anything that affects your community and growth and infrastructure and obviously property taxes is going to affect your traditional public schools. So I would encourage you to become familiar with that. So those are my 3 highlights. I think those are pretty big ones. The rest you can peruse on the website. So that's all I have on that item this evening.
Okay, thank you.
Thank you.
All right, Mr. Martin, another informational item, the proposed 2023-2024 school calendar.
come on, there we go, all right. There are a few
Chad, you
priorities.
realize you're talking to technology. That's
Yes,
something I do. You're not allowed to do that.
Yeah. So the calendar has a few priorities. Priorities that we're able to meet. Graduating before Memorial Day, we're able to do again. When the calendar shifts, it might change. We also have the priority of this Thanksgiving break falling on the same IHSA week because of the way the state finals fall around breaks. We have to kind of shift our calendar with IHSAA, and either next year or the next year, the following year, that will shift. I forget which year it shifts, and that's what will dictate a little bit of our later start or things like that. And then trying to balance the semesters and not giving the kids a 5-day start of school either semester, because they have a little bit of more fatigue when they come back. It's a little bit too much to go 5 days on the start. We've done that before. On the second semester, it means the teachers have to come back the Friday before, and that's problematic as well, breaking into their winter break. So we were able to meet a lot of priorities this one. Another important one has become, like fall break, the Friday before spring break has become important enough to imbalance the calendar by one day.
Attempt to maintain it. No promises. Attempting to maintain it. It's just calendar.
So,
But it's awfully nice.
It's
so
very
I've
nice to
circled
have.
those priorities that this calendar hits. There's no vote tonight, but please let me know if you have any concerns, thoughts, or even now. We've run this through administration at the district office and then principals. I think we should.
Then we will run it
teach-
through the LCTA discussion. This is a required item of discussion with the exclusive representative. So the group we're running it through, just getting comments at this point from all groups.
Any questions about how the priorities were laid out?
As you see the calendar, begin to look at potential days the board may want to consider on saying if there's an inclement weather day, we might capture. So I'm not going to throw out any ideas at this meeting, but we can look at it. They're fairly obvious when you're looking at the draft, where they would come from. I would say that in our preliminary conversations, we do think that day before spring break, oftentimes at that particular break, traditionally, a lot of travel plans are set. And so that may be one we want to avoid using as some sort of flex. But there is a President's Day out there and some others as well. So we can take a look.
So not in line with this, but the next year's calendar, if we have to adjust it, do you have to go through?
We would need to bring it.
Teachers again?
We would. We'd need to take that back because it's a change, potentially changing the actual instructional days and which days could be used for instruction, and that's working conditions and calendar. So those are discussable, and we welcome their feedback. And so we would gather your feedback again, administrators, and we have some parameters, so it becomes difficult at times to make major changes, but it really is good to get many eyes on it and think about it from different angles.
I'm just thinking of the time that if you have to make adjustments for next year.
Yeah, we can still make it happen.
Yeah.
We can always call a special discussion meeting if necessary as well.
Yeah.
So what, over the last couple of years, what is the number of days we've used for e-learning? Do you know?
This year we were at 3. We were right at 3. So we're right at that cap.
Okay.
Timing of it's interesting because I haven't looked at a calendar. Mr. Martin and I looked at that today to see if we could remember how late in the calendar year we typically have the weather days. You know, is it we have less for mid-February? I would say most likely they happen by the end of January, where you can get the most first week of February. We have fewer during the last week of February almond. But it is Indiana.
You never know.
We do have March Madness coming, and it always causes something.
Boys high school basketball.
Or flooding in
Or
April.
April snow.
We've had floods.
It is Indiana.
Yeah.
It can happen.
One more highlight to this calendar is 3 full weekends at winter break. That's kind of a priority I try to do, is to give 3 full weekends, to make 2 full 5-day weeks.
Nice.
Thank you.
Questions? Thank you. Thanks.
Thank you, Ms. Martin.
All right, upcoming meetings. Our next regular board meeting is here, April 19th, 7 o'clock. Anyone have anything else this evening? Nope. All right, no further business. We are adjourned. Thank you.